trouble, learn my way. Whoa.
Welcome to the introductory episode of the Pandora's European Motorsports podcast, later to be named, and once we figure out what the name is going to be. So I am Justin Bethune, and with me today I have
Matt Welch
and Jeff Griffith.
All right. So, guys, this is episode 1. So basically, this is just going to be like an introductory episode to let everybody know like who we are, where we come from, what you guys do. So let's start with Matt. Tell us who you are and what you do right now.
So right now, GM and one of the partners at the store.
Okay.
So I mean, just day-to-day operational stuff. Trying to keep Jeff and his cohorts in line.
That is a task in and of itself.
Yes,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice. So how long have you been with Pandora's?
I've been there since 2012.
Okay. And then y'all were where when you first opened?
So we were at the original little store on 58 by the Taco Bell. What is there now? I don't remember what's there. Some resale shop or something. But yeah, that little bitty store that wasn't much bigger than this room.
Right.
That started in 2009.
Yeah.
When Pandora's originally started. Yeah.
And that's when I met you.
Correct. Yeah.
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 And so that was in 2009.
When the store started.
We
would have met in 2012, 13, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. That was about that time. Because that was right when I moved back to Chattanooga.
Okay.
So, yeah. Met y'all up there. I remember that place you couldn't even walk through it.
No, it was little. I mean, thinking back to that, it's crazy what we were doing out of that little bitty store.
Exactly.
I mean, our Triumph showroom now is bigger than
yes, it is.
that entire showroom was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, we only had 2 brands then.
Yeah.
In that store, we had BMW and Ducati at the time.
Yeah.
And then
a bunch of used bikes.
And then I don't know. I think we had 3 technicians in probably 1,000 square feet.
Yep.
The shop.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, we were doing a bunch out of that little bitty store then, but it's crazy to think back to what it was and where we came from.
Yeah, I remember that place. That place was y'all. That was how I started coming to y'all. Was doing service on a couple of my sport bikes.
Okay.
And I remember the last time I was headed up there to have y'all service the Gixxer, I wrecked it on the way there, leaving the neighborhood.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was in like January.
So cold tires.
Yeah, cold tires. It was the day. It was like 14 degrees outside. I left the house at like 7:30 or 8 to get there like as soon as y'all opened so I could get to work.
See, even then we knew you were a European rider because you were committed. Like that's full commitment on a sport bike in 14-degree weather. Nobody on a Suzuki does that.
Well, I was leaving in like 2 or 3 days to go to Key West. And I was taking the bikes.
So you kind of had
and
to.
I had to.
Yeah.
And it was, but yeah, I mean, I'll ride in any weather, especially now that I got the heated grips and seat.
Yeah, it's like cheating compared to that GSX-R
on a sport bike.
Yeah.
No, thank you. So yeah, wrecked that thing coming out of the neighborhood there right in front of the house.
Yeah,
y'all still got the service done though.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Did we fix some body panels and levers and stuff while you were there?
Left it.
Gotcha.
It left it. It wasn't my bike.
It was a GSX-R, so you're insured, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you know me. I've got insurance.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was. I think that was the first business that I did with y'all was servicing the Gixxer and the CBR. Yeah. So
and look where we're at now.
Look where we're at now, and you're selling me Ducatis.
That's right. That's right. That's how this works.
Getting bougie. Upgraded from a CBR F4i to a Ducati multi-strike.
Right.
moving up in the world.
Yeah, we're all proud of you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I still have a Harley.
Okay, maybe
Acceptable.
Acceptable. Yeah. But I do ride the Ducati the most.
Yeah.
So what are you riding now?
I've got GSA, BMW GSA. I've got a Husqvarna FX350. Of course, lucky to be able to jump on stuff at the store, pretty much whenever I want to. So that's not a bad deal.
Yeah.
And then, pedaling all the bicycles too. So, yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
So, yeah.
What are you doing with the bicycles?
What, Jeff? years ago, almost 2 years ago now.
Just about, yeah.
We picked up gas e-bicycles, which I've been adverse to e-bikes, admittedly, for a long time, but since we got them, I decided I should probably go ride them and give them a chance, and I absolutely love them now. Still pedal non-e-bikes. I was on my felt road bike last night down at the battlefield, but yeah, I mean, I've always had a passion for bicycles. Matter of fact, I mean, my wife Carla, that's how we met. She's a triathlete, so
yeah, she was telling me she's wanting to do another race.
Yeah, getting ready to go back to Kona
next year, right?
Try to. Well, I mean, she's raced a little bit this year, but I mean, yeah, she wants to go to qualify again for Kona.
Heck yeah. So, she's a beast.
She is.
Between the two of you, how many bicycles do you own?
Ooh, man, I don't even know. And I hate it'd take too long to count. We don't have time for that.
Do they have to be fully assembled to be
I was
considered
going to
a
say,
bicycle?
with all the parts you have, how many bikes could you have?
Yeah, I mean, 12, 14, I would say, between the two of us.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like motorcycles. I mean, they've gotten real nichey now, and
100%. You got to have one of every type.
Yeah, it's very specific.
It's like me.
Yeah, there's not a standard Japanese motorcycle anymore.
No, there's not. That's what I was telling Jeff before the show. I was like, I've got so many bikes, they won't all fit in my garage at home.
Yeah.
So I've got bikes. I've got one at one of my rental houses because my foreman is renting a house from us, and so I've got my Supermoto over there in his garage,
right?
And my CBR, the F4i, I still have. It is at my grandmother's house. They're not living there anymore, so it's they had extra garage space. And then I've got the Harley and the Ducati at my house. Yeah, I don't have room for all of them.
I mean, it's definitely first world problems, but
it is, right?
Problems nonetheless. Yeah. I mean, to your point, I got motorcycles at the store.
You've got a better place to keep them.
I do. I mean,
I've got to politely ask people to borrow some storage space. So,
yeah.
So how many bikes, motorcycles you have now?
Just two.
Just two personal.
Yeah,
but you get to ride whatever you want.
Yeah.
Especially with all those used bikes you'll have.
Right. Yeah. But like the GSA I keep because I take the thing off road.
Yeah.
And I don't,
you can't do that with a demo bike or with a shop bike.
I would hate to sell somebody a GSA after I've, taken it through Trail 81 or something and thrown it down 10 times. So,
I mean, I traded in a Tiger that I dropped off of the back of Suck Creek.
We know.
Yeah.
We know.
It wasn't that bad. The worst part was it was right before y'all put the crash bars on there for me.
Yeah, you always tear them up before you put the protection out.
Why is there damage under the crash bar?
Yeah. Well, y'all didn't get the parts in quick enough. Right. Not y'all's fault.
Yeah.
And also was running the street tires. I was like, I want to see what this thing will do off road.
Yeah,
that's why I learned I'm not very good off road with a heavy bike.
On street tires.
On street tires.
Yeah, you need all the help you can get on those things.
Yeah, I was coming down. What's the road that goes up the back? Like if you go all the way through.
Big Frog or no? What are you talking about?
Suck Creek.
Suck Creek.
You go all the way down.
Yeah,
Suck Creek, and then you go through Whitwell,
there.
and it's
Haley Road.
Haley Road. Yeah. I was coming back down Haley Road.
Yeah, back across to Prentice Cooper.
Yep. Yeah. Dumped it coming down. So
Haley Road's the best.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
So you could go from where you're talking about over in the valley.
Yep.
All the way across through Prentice Cooper and back down to River Canyon Road, which is the last road before you come up the Chattanooga side of Suck Creek Mountain. Yeah.
You can't go all the way across anymore?
I don't think so. I think it's all closed now.
I didn't go all the way through. I just went to the top of Haley Road and then came back. Yeah. So, because I was by myself, I didn't want to get too deep in there. Yeah. Plus, like I said, I'm not that good off road.
There's a pretty good downhill now that's just rock slab and then a creek to cross before you get to Prentice Cooper. If
I will definitely not be doing that on the Ducati.
Call me, we'll go.
I'll come
we'll
watch.
Knock the new off.
We'll bring I don't want to knock the new off that Ducati. I just hit 10,000 miles on it. I'm trying to keep it new. I have not dropped it yet. So
that's good.
That's
And you did that big trip out west.
Yeah, 6,500 miles in one trip. Yeah. Didn't drop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing, God, that spoiled me.
I mean, I think that's probably a testament to new Ducatis because generally speaking, I think out of all our brands, people think the BMW is always the go-to to do that trip. And absolutely, it's a great bike to do that trip on. But that's pretty cool that you did it on a Ducati, and that says a lot about where Ducati's at currently.
Yeah, and the new rally, like that was the first rally that y'all had in the shop.
Yeah,
I got the first one.
That's right.
And having that 8+ gallon fuel tank, that thing, you can go well over 300 miles on a tank.
Your butt starts hurting before it runs out of fuel.
Yeah. You need a break before, but even then, the stock seat on that thing is super comfortable.
Yeah.
I say this to customers all the time, where you had a Ducati when you're talking about back in 2007, you're talking about a Ducati that they were wholly focused on performance.
Yes.
And when Audi came in and bought them out, I forget what year that was, we'll look it up, whatever. But it's like they came in and said, you can have fast bikes, but we also have to make it, sellable.
Yeah.
We have to be able to sell these bikes, and we can't have these super strict valve service intervals and things like that. And on your Ducati, you're talking 36,000 mile valve service intervals. I mean, they're doing
10,000 mile oil changes.
Exactly the opposite of what they were trying to do in the past, where it's just high performance, high maintenance.
Well, they took the V4 and detuned it down for...
Well, they created the Gran Turismo engine, and they did away with the Desmodromic valve system on that one and went to a spring valve. And you've talked to me about how the Desmo, it prefers to have pretty high lift on the cams, and you can't really use that unless you're at high RPM. And you're not going to be at high RPM all the time on an adventure bike. So they had to kind of change the way their mind was set on having the Desmo system that makes them Ducati. And a lot of the guys that were, Ducatisti were really upset that they did away with the Desmo on that. And your purist will absolutely kill your brand if you just listen to them all the time. So
and I mean, Ducati had to, and Audi realized that and did a great job. I mean, they, they don't post it on window stickers per se on motorcycles, but the cost of ownership per year, like they do post on cars, is big now. I mean, people are, when a motorcycle's $30,000, people start looking at what it's going to cost to own it, not just initially, but what's it cost me 5 years from now.
Yeah, a bike that costs that much right up front, you just automatically think the maintenance is going to be a few $1,000s a year.
Yeah, and bikes like your Multi are from a maintenance point of view, are probably one of the cheaper ones in the building.
$500 a year.
Yeah.
And I ride about 10,000 miles a year. Right. It's one service a year, and it was less than $500.
Right.
Like we just did it a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. And other than tires, it's that's cheap.
Right.
But like that's really cheap.
Yeah. But I mean, they, the group had to do that, or they were gonna.
Well, I mean, that's what brought me in.
Right.
Like I wouldn't have had an older Ducati. I'm the type that. Like, so I like to have one bike for each type of riding that I like to do. Yeah. So like maintenance is not something I want to be doing all the time.
Right.
So like the least amount, that's why I rode Hondas before. Right. I mean, you can not change the oil in a Honda for 4 years and it's not going to blow up on you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. So,
that's what I like.
The quality.
Yeah. The less maintenance, the better.
Right.
I haven't had anything new from Honda just because I've switched around, but it's, that Ducati, it was like a no-brainer for me. I had the Tiger 900 Rally before, and then I had to sell it for other reasons. And so I was like, well, I've got to trade this thing in. I didn't want to sell it. I just traded it in because I wanted something else. I just couldn't keep that bike. And so I came in, you were like, Jeff, like, look at the Multistrada.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at the Tiger 1200, and you were like, Ducati's got this Rally coming out. And I'm like, well, there's nowhere to go after that. It's like there's no upgrade past that. Like if you want a sporty touring bike that can also go off road and that has a Rally edition on it, which is exactly what I wanted, the Multistrada, like there's nothing above it, really, unless you're just a BMW guy.
Right, for sure. Yeah.
But for last year, that was like the top of the top because the new BMW hadn't come out yet, and so there's really nothing to compare it to. So in my mind, it was like just buy the top of the top. I'm not going to want to trade it in a year.
Right.
I was like, I'm going to keep it because there's nothing better. There's nothing to upgrade to.
Right.
God, I'm glad I did.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. So speaking of the new BMW, what is everybody?
I haven't had a chance to check it out.
Not seen it?
I've seen it, but I haven't got to test one out.
Yeah.
I've said it for years and years and years. Not Ducati. BMW is not a brand that you buy because the bike looks good.
No.
Especially when you're talking about the GSAs. I don't think any of them look good. I think that they are a very practical bike. They are, just something that you buy because it is the Swiss Army knife of motorcycles.
Yes.
It does everything pretty well. And BMW comes at it from the opposite perspective that Ducati comes at it. So Ducati, they had to tone themselves down a little bit and focus on the maintenance intervals, things like that, and learn that everything isn't about performance. It's not about having the lightest bike with the most horsepower. And even in my background, I've always chased that. Like I've always compared. I sold KTM before I sold BMW, and I was like, well,
KTM's all racing.
who would buy a BMW that's 70 pounds heavier and half the horsepower? Why would anyone buy that? But it's a different type of riding. It's a different mindset behind riding. They want a bike that they can spend all day on.
You spend a month on a bike, you think a lot different.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's something that, it's not about performance all the time.
Yeah, and even then, that freaking Multistraw is the fastest bike I've ever owned.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. Even with how heavy that bike is, with the amount of power it makes, it's faster than my CBR 600. Yeah. Like, it's ridiculous how fast that thing is.
With all of that said, you're talking about the new GSA, the R1300 GSA. People get on it, and they're like, they looked at the pictures, and they're like, man, that's ugly.
Yeah.
That doesn't hurt my feelings. It just...
Well, I mean, nobody wants to put a GSA in their living room like they want to do a Ducati sometimes, right? But the new, I don't know. I hope. But once
you put your panniers on there and your crash bars and your fog lights, and like on my bike, I've got the waterproof tool bags up on the front, and once you deck it out for trips and everything, like, it looks the part.
Oh, and those sides are made to be a spare wheel mount.
Yeah. So it's like, once you have it decked out for a trip, you're like, okay, that makes sense. That looks right. Yeah. It's just when they're stripped down, they're kind of ugly.
Yeah, when you look at it from that perspective, I mean, it's that's what it's for, right? That's what, and I mean, that's what BMW built it for.
Yeah, it's made to go across the world.
Yeah, which they do. But man, it is not a. I'll be the first one to say it's not an attractive motorcycle at all. You look back to when we moved from a oil cooled bike to a water cooled bike, and I think a lot of people had the same opinion. So I guess it'll grow on us over time.
Your purist will kill your brand.
Yeah.
And if you never innovate because your purists don't want you to put water cooling on something,
right,
Harley, then your brand is going to see a downturn.
100%. Yeah. Harley hasn't changed in how many years?
They change things here and there, but every change they make seems to be just a way to work around EPA laws.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. It's been reactionary to EPA to just try to keep the same horsepower that they had prior to the new, Euro 4, then 5, then, So, it's just been getting, just keeping it where it was and getting by. So,
it's your purist.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not
it's still the biggest market in the world though. So, I mean, you can't argue with it.
What's a brand? Like how many people own Harley stuff that have never ridden a Harley?
Right. Yeah.
Like you see these dudes riding around with the Harley stickers on their trucks and stuff, and Harley Davidson edition trucks,
right?
Yeah, like the Fords and stuff have the Harley. Like, I've never seen a Ducati edition Mustang. Like it's branding. That's where they make all their money.
Yeah, nobody has ever and probably never will done as good a job of marketing as Harley. Yeah, as Harley has,
and it being American too. Right. That's that helps.
Yeah,
and they're the ones that have lasted the test of time,
right?
But I mean, Indians still kind of hanging around. Yeah. I don't think they're ever going to catch up. But
you see the I don't know, the age ranges of people that are buying these bikes.
Yeah.
And you see the Harley age range is really, really high, and it's actually, I forget what the statistic was. It was raising like half a year every year. So that shows that their population was aging.
Yep.
And as that age population dies out, you look at our generation, the millennial generation, we are suddenly getting into a position where we actually have some disposable income, and we're not spending it on a Harley because that was my granddad's bike.
Yep.
That doesn't have much to appeal to us, and they're working really hard to fight that.
Well, like even me, like I'm building my Street Glide to where it's not anything that Harley offers.
Yeah.
Like the performance bagger thing is like, and they've slowly started like kind of offering a few bikes that kind of look performance baggery ish. And like, that's the bike that I'm building. And it's more of just like a cruiser. Like when the girlfriend's with me and we're just riding around, it's more comfortable. And like going to bike night and just like hanging out with our friends and stuff. Like it's a cool around town bike. I'm not taking a trip on it. Like I've ridden, I don't know, like 400 miles is like the furthest away from home I've gone on the Harley. And it was just like,
but
you know,
as
like,
Harley, as they try to innovate, I do expect them to start, you know, coming out with bikes that are more competition for what we sell. And we see that with the Pan Am, which was, you know,
but
an
look at
attempt
the
to get to
resale
that
on those
market.
things.
Yeah, no, it's bad. But you know, we're more focused on the performance side of it than Harley would be.
Yeah.
And I like that the BMW this year has really seemed to hone in on the performance aspect of it by going to the 1300.
What are the numbers on the new 1300?
Is it 140?
146.
Okay.
I think it's 146.
Catching up.
Yeah.
But they got a lot of torque, right?
They do, and I mean, you know, what's always lent itself so well on the BMW is the boxer motor to ride that bike off road because of the low center of gravity. And like, you know, back to the Harley Pan America, nobody's ever done as good a job on the first attempt as Harley did on that bike. In fairness, and
did that not start out as an electric bike? Was that not the
live wire?
Not to my knowledge.
Was it because they look really similar? Wasn't that the one that they did on the?
I think that's just the design crew.
Was it just the design crew
mentality behind them?
Because the Ewan McGregor documentary that they did, where they rode the electric bikes all the way up, it looked a lot like a Pan America.
Yeah.
I thought maybe that's where the design had come from. I don't know.
And the resale value is it's pretty bad, but it's, in fairness, it's bad for everything right now. On the used side, the interest rates are killing us. Anything recreational is tough right now.
Well, it's just always easier to buy new.
Yeah.
I mean, if your payment's going to be the same,
right?
Why get a used one?
Yeah.
Unless you're paying cash.
You're talking about the boxer motor. If you're dealing with 146 horsepower, and you look at other brands, and there's other brands that have more horsepower. The Triumph has more horsepower. The KTM has more horsepower. The Ducati definitely has more horsepower. But the appeal of the boxer motor is more than just the horsepower and torque numbers. It's a certain power characteristic that I've not seen out of a V-twin, parallel twin, any other kind of twin. And it does lend itself to having the very smooth power from the bottom end of the RPM range. And what I really love about it, you used to do a lot of like slow racing at the shop and things like that just for fun. And if you are trying to go slow and do something that's meticulous and, a hard section of trail or whatever, the boxer is going to be an awesome machine for that.
Yeah, for sure. Just the way it delivers power and the low center of gravity on those bikes because of the motor orientation lends itself.
Yeah, for a bike that's going to be good off-road and still comfortable on the highway, they're hard to beat.
They are. They are really hard to beat. And all the other brands.
Because KTM is going to be faster off-road.
Yeah,
but they're not going to be as comfortable on the highway.
But anything when you key on, it says ready to race across the dash.
Exactly.
I mean, you ought to know what's up.
Yeah.
So
it's one of those where you got to figure out what's your percentage of road versus dirt and off-road and stuff.
And I had a KTM 1290 Super Adventure R, and that is my most missed bike at this point. And it was an oversized dirt bike. And people say the 890 is the dirt bike. I really don't see how it could be any better other than just being lighter. Because that 1290 just had so much power getting out of the corners. It made up for the weight that it had. And on that bike, though, you're talking about balancing off-road versus on-road. It had a 21-inch front wheel and 18-inch rear. And depending on what kind of tires you put on it, you kind of made your choice.
Right.
That bike likes to be in the dirt. It did not like to be on the street very much. I could hold my own on the street, but it was something that was really made more for the off-road than the on-road. And we have other bikes, the BMW, the Ducati, the Tiger 1200, the GT version of it, that are a 1917 setup on most of them. I think the Tiger is the only one that has an 18 on the rear.
I think so, yeah.
those are going to be more applicable for more street use. So be realistic about what bike you're going to actually want, what tire setup you're going to want, and
I started on the Tiger 900 Rally. It's got the 21-inch front wheel, and then I did like the 80-20 or more like a 70-30 tire on it, and then realized that I'm going to be riding more on road than off road.
Yeah,
and I was just like, man, this thing, it's because it's more geared for a little bit of off road, and on road it was not, especially being the 900. Being on the highway and stuff, you just get blown all over the place.
And the Tiger's a good Goldilocks bike.
Great, like for your first like a big adventure bike, it was a great bike to learn on.
I read an article that actually had Eric Bostrom doing a test ride on them, and they compared the 890 to the Tiger 900 and the is the F850 GS at the time, and they said they ordered them about that way, where the 850 was the most street oriented for the mid-size category and the KTM was most off-road oriented, but that Tiger was kind of what they called their Goldilocks bike. It was a little bit of a mix of both,
and that's why I bought it. Because I didn't really know, like I was just getting into like touring on a bike, and it was like, because I bought that thing, and then 2 months later I took off and went 5,000 miles away from home. So I was like, I didn't really know like what I was going to like. And I realized that like on a trip that long, that's not a comfortable bike to ride 400 miles a day on.
And that was a solo journey, wasn't it?
That was solo.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no way you can take a passenger on that bike. Not with me being 220 pounds plus a passenger. It's not big enough.
Yeah. That inline 3-cylinder on that bike's great, though.
It was a great engine, though.
I would, off-road, it takes some more RPM to motivate it and technical stuff, but
it can handle that.
It can.
It's
fine. Yeah.
You strip the panniers and everything off of it, you strip it down and just go ride for the day. It's super fun bike.
Right.
Very fun. But then I got on that Ducati and I was like, oh, okay, this thing is nasty. It's 165 horsepower?
I think so, yeah.
Went from 95 to 165.
Yeah.
It's not that much heavier than the Tiger.
It's not.
No, proportionally it's a little bigger, but it's bigger. It's not that much heavier.
It's a little more top heavy because of that gas tank up top. That was something I had to get used to.
Yeah, but there's no rule that says you got to fill it up all the way either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, if you're going out west, if you're doing a long trip, it makes sense to probably get full of fuel and then you can get the mileage out of it. But yeah, if you're just riding local and doing some off-road, there's no...
I actually ended up doing on the last trip, we did more off-road on the Ducati than we did on the Tiger. Just because it was a longer trip.
Right.
Like when we were going through South Dakota, I didn't realize how many dirt roads there were out there, and they were repaving everything. So like they had, and like when they repave. Like they just rip everything up and repave from brand new. So like going all the way across South Dakota, like half of the roads we were on were dirt roads, and they're like washed out and like, because they're doing construction on them. So like they just ripped up all the asphalt, and it's like we ended up going through some pretty rough stuff. And I was like, man, this is when you're not that technical of a rider off road, and then you get on a 500 or 600 pound bike plus 200 or 300 pounds of gear plus two people.
Yeah,
it's like
it changes.
I'm glad this thing has traction control. Right?
Yeah,
and bike choice becomes a really important thing whenever you're doing all that, and that's kind of what we do at the shop most of the time. I don't really see sales as I'm trying to get you on a bike no matter what that bike is. I am there to be an educator. I am there to help you make the right decision for the purposes that you're going to use the bike for. And if you're a guy who just wants a big bike off-road, I'm going to take you to the KTM 890 Adventure R. And you were looking at that and the Tiger 1200, and ultimately we decided on the Multistrada. And a lot of it was because, I like the Multistrada. I know what kind of riding you do. Yeah. And it was just a better fit for you. I don't want, my Triumph rep to be listening to this and thinking that I'm leading everyone that direction. But it was just the best option for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause it's, I've had both. I had the Tiger and then the Ducati, and they both were great bikes. I would be happy having either one, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I also haven't gone on a trip on the 1200. So I did the 900. So if I was going to have a bike just for around town and I was going to do like 50-50 riding, the Tiger 900, especially the Rally, is great bike, especially if you're going solo.
Yeah.
But I would imagine needing to go 2 up, you want to go with the 1200 for sure.
You just need something a little bigger, a little more horsepower. The 900, because it need some more RPM to be motivated off road. There's other stuff that does lend itself to two up riding. That's better. Yeah.
I mean, we're still talking about small engine stuff, and it's in a smaller chassis for sure. But to a small engine, a 220-pound guy plus a passenger is a heavy load.
Yeah.
So you don't buy the F-150 when you're going to be towing all the time.
Exactly.
You buy the F-250.
Yep.
So you have to keep that in mind whenever you're buying. If you're planning on doubling, I would always lend you more to the 1200 than the 900 when we're talking about Tigers.
Yeah, and I think when guys are kind of first getting into it, that's especially if they're not as experienced of a rider, a bike that size, you just kind of like mentally, you're like, how can I handle? With how heavy it is, how powerful it is,
but you also have guys who are your size and my size. I'm about the same weight category. Who I sell dirt bikes too, so we used to talk about they have to have the 300 XCW. Because they're a big guy.
Yeah.
Well, the size of the rider has very little to do with the size of bike you buy. You're more buying a power characteristic when you buy the 300. And for a lot of riders, and I would dare say most, a 250 would be a better fit. I did a 6-hour enduro on a 150. It's not like the power was lacking at all, except for in one situation on a hill climb.
Right.
But
I mean, I think the 150 is a great bike. I think
I love the 150.
If you're gonna just if you're looking for a trail bike. Just to go ride, it's the
two-stroke.
Yeah,
that thing's nasty.
Yeah.
I rode one at the motocross track. It was more than enough for me.
Yeah, they're great bikes. Yeah.
I mean, I grew up riding a 125, so it was like
you love the 150.
Yeah, that was and it's so lightweight. I mean, I could just pick that thing up and throw it in the back of the literally we just picked it up and threw it in the back of the truck.
And you don't have to turn the guts out of it all the time like
no, you don't.
to keep it motivated. Yeah,
it's like the perfect balance, especially for somebody that grew up riding a 125. Because like on a 4-stroke 250, I've never ridden a 450 on a motocross track because I would die. Jeff knows I'm not that great of motocross racer. I go out with the kids, so I just kind of putt around.
When you're riding a 450, though, you got to think about the physical endurance that you have to ride that 450. Yeah. And when I was doing that 6-hour enduro, I didn't want to be fighting that kind of horsepower the whole time because I knew I had to have the endurance through that race, rather than just having the brutal speed into the first corner. Right. So buy the bike for the purpose you're riding it for.
Yeah, 250 is plenty.
For most people.
Yeah.
I'm not hitting triples.
Right.
Like if I hit a double, I'm crapping my pants.
But we're also talking about endurance racing, hair scrambles, things like that. I'd say a 250 XCF is the ultimate hair scramble bike for most people, and that's the 4-stroke side of it. And if you're just insisting on a 2-stroke, I mean, the smaller CC you get, the more I enjoy it. But I do find a Goldilocks place. I keep using that word at the 250 level.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's like my supermoto. That's why I like it so much.
Yeah,
because you can just ride it at the limit all the time, and you're not going to get in trouble.
Yeah,
because it's 20. What we were talking about, a 28 horsepower.
Yeah,
and then we geared it down. I think we went up 4 in the back and down 1 in the front and put supermoto wheels.
Surely we didn't do that much.
Yeah, we did. That was your recommendation.
I didn't do that.
You ordered the parts, bro.
Don't put that on me.
Oh god, that was 7 years ago? Yeah, that was a while. That was back in 2017.
Man.
Yeah. You were still over on Dodds Avenue then.
Yeah.
But yeah, we took my CRF 250L and converted it to a supermoto.
Okay.
And, that thing it tops out at 70 now because we got it geared so low.
But it's a lot of fun.
God, you can just ring it out
between 0 and 70, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm surprised it does that fast.
Yeah, that's downhill with a tailwind. It's like a really big Grom. Is really what it is.
Tractor trailer.
Yeah. Just grabbing onto it, just going for a ride. And it gets 75 miles to the gallon. Yeah.
Nice.
So that's one of those things where having a slow bike, right? But man, it's quick and nimble.
And insurance is dead cheap on it.
Oh god,
I've always loved supermotos. Yeah.
All 4 of my bikes, I pay $100 and something a month for all 4 bikes total.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, I had to put peg sliders on the supermoto. I was like,
get the pegs in the ground all the time.
Yeah. I dug the pegs in a couple of times. That was when it got scary.
Yeah, that'll definitely get your attention.
Yeah, it did, especially on the W road.
Supermoto is a lot of fun. I mean, you should try a 500.
From a 250 to a 250 L to 500.
The power you can handle, we've already proven that with the Ducati.
Yeah, you'd be
Yeah,
fine.
but on a hooligan bike,
The 500 makes a great supermoto. Yeah. It
what
makes a
about
great
the new
dual sport.
Ducati? The new Ducati Supermoto.
It's fun. Yeah. I mean, but it's more like I don't know, what was the 10 years ago they were calling them maxi motos. It's bigger than a dirt bike.
Does it have the V2 in it? Or is
No,
it a single?
It's a single.
So the Hyper's got the V2, the Hypermoto.
Yes.
I keep laughing at the name of that engine. It's a Super Quadro Mono. So it's a Super
Quadro
4-1.
Yeah.
Super 4. What does that mean?
Well,
we don't know. I'm not sure they do either.
it came off the Super Quadro motor, which was made famous by the 1299 engine in Ducati. And they basically cut it in half, and it's a 698 now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a Super Quadro because it's got 4 valves per head, but it's also a mono because it's
Single cylinder.
Nice. Sounds fun.
It
looks great.
It is a lot of fun.
It looks great.
Yeah, we just sold our the first one that we've had, like, that was actually went on the floor that wasn't pre-sold.
Yeah.
Sold yesterday. So it's been really popular.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking earlier about, you know, motorcycles are real niche now. That's definitely a bike that fits a very specific need, or I guess won't if but
It's the most fun I've ever had on two wheels.
for sure. Yeah.
People are going to compare it constantly to the KTM 690, the Husky 701, and the Gas ES 700. They're all basically built on the same engine and chassis. There's a few slight differences, but mostly they're the same. And those engines are probably a little more torquey from the bottom end of the RPM range, but the Hyper definitely beats it on horsepower. And the KTM was the previous ruler for the highest horsepower. Horsepower per cylinder. I like that. Yeah. But the highest horsepower single cylinder motor was in that KTM at 72 horsepower. And they came out with that Hyper Motard, and it's at 78. And if you go for the race exhaust on that one, it's 84.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And how much does that bike weigh?
It's going to be close to 330. I don't know exactly the number, but it's going to be around that. And it feels smaller and lighter what the KTM does.
I sat on the one that y'all had in the showroom. I was like, man, this definitely feels like a supermoto. Because like the reviews that I watched, they were talking about how it's heavier than a regular supermoto. I'm like, yeah, but it's 80 horsepower.
It's heavier than like a 450 supermoto. But if you compare it to what most people are buying for supermotos now, which is the 690s and 701s and 700s, it's, you know.
But man, I'm not converting a 450. I'm not doing all that maintenance.
You got the quintessential supermoto with a 450. You get really close to it with a 500. That's why I say you need a 500. I think they make the best supermotos. But I think that whenever you're going to the 700 category, that you're getting to a place that it's more of a practical supermoto for everyday use, and you're not going to do that with a 500. I had a 500 for 2 years, and I put 2,500 miles on it, and I thought I was really riding it all the time.
Yeah,
I ride for fun. I don't ride to commute.
Right. Yeah, with what I do, I can't. I've got to have a truck most of the time, doing construction and stuff. I would love to ride a motorcycle every day, but I've got to have tools, and if I need to go pick up equipment or materials or stuff, and that's what sucks about it. I would love to retire and just ride motorcycles every day.
Do podcasts. And,
let's just do podcasts and ride motorcycles and shoot videos. Let's do that.
Sounds great.
So we need some more sponsors.
We'll work on
BMW and Ducati.
Yeah. Maybe some of the car stores.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. There you go. So, well, Jeff, tell us about, we got off on I told you. Did I not tell y'all that we would just sit here and talk? Yeah. So these guys were a little nervous about getting on camera. And I'm like, look, this is going to be easy. We're just going to sit here and talk about bikes like we do every time I come to the shop.
I'm not as good looking as you are. So
I had to bulk up for this.
Did you hit the gym last night? For 2 weeks. Well, I haven't been in the gym for 2 months. I told you we're going to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
So Jeff, tell us what you do over at the shop.
So my official title, it was totally made up. It is
this is my fault.
Digital Dynamo.
Yeah.
Digital Dynamo. You sound like Chris.
It's literally on my business card. But he presented it to me, and I just didn't fight it.
There you go.
Yeah. And it stuck. So in essence, everything digital that you see from Pandora is something that I do. So that's your Facebook, Instagram, all your social media there, and YouTube's picking up a little bit. And
It's about to really pick up with this.
I hope so.
Yes.
And then you got our weekly newsletter that we send out every Wednesday. That's called Advents. And it's a lot of work. It's rewarding, but I get to look at bikes all day and study them, take pictures of them, look at what's going on in the service department, parts department, and I kind of float around a little bit in that respect. But up to this point, I've been focused on the sales department, and this has kind of been a recent change for us.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's going to be good.
And Jeff's selling himself a little bit short in fairness, because I mean, he's still helping us with the sales side of things. He's evaluating used bike values. I mean, he does
He's a Jeff of all trades.
It's not just the dynamo and the digital dynamo
There
is
you
the
go.
critical part.
I like that.
Yeah.
There you go. How did you get started in bikes?
I had no choice.
I know. We know. Tell the listeners.
So, how much history do you want? Because we were talking about it before.
Give us a 5 minutes on Jeff.
5 minutes on Jeff.
Yeah.
So it really has to go all the way back to my great-grandfather. Talk about how much history do you want. But he started a Harley dealership in 1926. And my grandfather started a dealership that was selling Triumph, Schwinn bicycles in 1956. It was actually started in 1936 by his cousin, but he bought it from him. And then 1966, we picked up Honda. Between those years, we had actually touched on just about every brand, including the European ones. We sold Ducati there for a little bit. But Ducati wasn't the brand that they are today. We also sold Rickman, JB Sachs, and Zundap, and a bunch of brands that you don't even hear about anymore. But 1982, Triumph went out of business. And you kind of had the very last Bonneville 750 we actually kept, and Dad still has it in his man cave. It's never been started to this day.
Really?
Yeah, so you notice the bluing on the pipes when they are started. This doesn't have any of that. And we've pushed it 3 miles.
Wow.
In the course of the years. But that's where this ring came from. That was my grandfather's ring that he kind of earned as... They used to do it's kind of similar to what you do with UPCs. You turn them in and you get a prize, whatever. They kind of did the same thing with Triumph Bonnevilles there for a little while. But he's actually sold that dealership in 2003, and we kind of restarted back in 2009 as Griffith Cycle. There we sold Arctic Cat ATVs, Beta motorcycles, and eventually picked up KTM, and that's kind of the one that stuck and became our main brand.
Yeah.
Then 2009 we sold to these guys, or not 2009, 2019 we sold to these guys, and that was kind of solidified. And we were talking about is October, November when that was finally done, and I moved over to Pandora's. But getting into motorcycles, I was 3 years old. Got a little PW50. That's pretty much the starter motorcycle for everyone under 5. At the time, now we got the SXE2s from KTM that are electric. But I've ridden everything since then.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a brand I haven't sat on. There's just a wide variety of motorcycles I've had the privilege of being able to ride throughout my life.
Did you ever race?
Yeah, I raced motocross there for a little bit. I think that being the jack of all trades makes you a master of none, and everyone who saw me race can kind of tell that. I raced motocross there for a little while. I was a mid-pack C rider at best.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of fun. I broke my collarbone, so you got scars to prove it.
Heck
I
yeah.
mean, that's kind of the rule. You got to break your collarbone if you race moto. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why I never actually raced. I just did practice days. I was always terrified to race.
It's scary.
Yeah.
The reason I broke my collarbone is because, in practice, I always, did my jumps, and I had a rule that if I didn't do it in practice, I wouldn't do it in the race.
Yeah.
But when you're battling for the lead for the first time ever in your racing career, your friend's jumping the jump that you're not jumping, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And I realized I didn't have the patience. I had too much hubris to allow myself to be beaten that way. So, again, I beat myself.
Yeah.
Sounds very Gary Griffith-like.
It does sound very Gary Griffith. So did you? I grew up hearing stories about your dad.
Yeah,
that's how we met, because our dads knew each other. I think they even went to high school together.
I didn't know that.
And that's or they grew up around each other in high school. Did your dad go to Eastridge?
Yeah, he went to Eastridge.
Yeah, that's okay. They went to high school together. That's how they knew each other.
Yeah.
So my dad used to take me down to the dealership all the time when y'all were down on Dodds Avenue, and we bought all of our 4-wheelers from y'all. And every time we were down there, your dad was riding a wheelie on whatever he had.
Yeah, he can't keep the front wheel on the ground.
Nothing. I don't think he knows how to. Like, I think he could ride 100 miles with a flat front tire.
Well, he can
You don't
ride
need it.
2 point. How long's Road Atlanta?
Oh, I don't know, but he did wheelie all the way
2.5
around.
miles, call it. Yeah. He can at least go 2.5 miles around Road Atlanta.
He wasn't supposed to be on the track at
No,
that
he
time,
wasn't.
was it?
No,
that's pretty typical.
I've heard this story.
When was this?
I don't know when it was. We've got an old picture of him on. He has an old XR350 that he calls a 357 Magnum, but he has built that thing. He built that thing from the ground up. He had a spare frame, a spare engine, and he literally has money in the engine. He has JB welded a nickel into where the decompression lever would go. But there's a dime in there somewhere as well. But he just one day at Road Atlanta, they were all doing a parade lap, and he saw that they were doing a parade lap, so he just starts it up and gets on the track, and he's out there on this old 350.
That's awesome.
I think he's waving, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got a
probably.
peace sign or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Probably
I've
peace
seen the
sign,
video. Yeah.
But
Or the picture.
that's kind of what he became known for, and that's he still does it. He's in his 60s now, and he's still wheeling just about every day. He had a recent knee replacement.
Yeah.
That day, he got on his little XR100 and was doing wheelies, and he sent a video to his doctor, who promptly called him and had some profanities.
Love that.
You did a great job, Doc. Look what I can do.
He felt that later.
Yeah, I bet he did. So,
But he's hard-headed. You
Yeah.
can't keep him down.
no, you can't. So, yeah, you definitely had no choice but to ride some motorcycles growing up. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. So you started working at the shop when?
I was.
I mean, I know you were
technically-
there.
Technically, I started getting paid at 9 years old. I'm sorry, child labor laws.
I did too, sweeping floors.
Yeah. I was sweeping floors, polishing bikes.
Yeah.
I was getting paid $2 an hour. I'm really.
That's exactly what I got paid.
Yeah.
I think, did our dads come up with that together?
Oh, I don't know. That was my grandfather.
That's
But
weird. That's roughly what you get paid now.
But he gets to ride bikes whenever he wants.
that's what I bring home after taxes. Anyway, so yeah, I was getting paid $2 an hour. I remember like collecting $200 and buying an RC truck, and you know,
Yeah.
that was kind of the thing to do back then. But
Those are coming back.
officially, I started working in motorcycles. I was about 14,
Yeah.
and that was at the Honda shop, not under the ownership of my grandfather. That was kind of in that in between years, and whenever we started back the shop in 2009, I really brought on more of a hands-on role because I had just graduated high school, and as I went through college, I went to college with a degree in business entrepreneurship. It gives you a little bit of marketing, a little bit of finance. I was taking things I learned from school and immediately being able to apply them, which helped me learn them more deeply. And it's those kinds of things that I'm able to bring to Pandora's now that was really good training for me.
Yeah.
And so when I graduated, I immediately took over a parts manager role. I brought on service after that, and we really didn't have a sales team per se. It was me and my dad. So I did part service sales. If you needed something, unfortunately, I was your guy, and it was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah, we bought a lot of parts from you. My dad was always wrecking our 4-wheeler.
Yeah.
Usually with me on it.
That only happened a couple times.
No, it happened twice, I think. So it was, but those are the good old days, man. I miss those days.
Yeah.
Back when life was easy. All we had to worry about was riding 4-wheelers and dirt bikes, and all our bills were covered for us.
With a helmet on, right?
Oh, definitely. I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure my mom was pretty adamant about us always wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
And my dad wasn't.
You should be good enough not to wreck.
No, we wear helmets most of the time, and just like when you're on a 4-wheeler, you don't really think that there's any kind of danger.
Exactly.
It's really Statistically speaking, four-wheelers are more dangerous than dirt bikes.
Yeah, because you can't get off of it.
Yeah,
And they chase you.
Yeah, chase you down. That was the worst wreck I've had was on a four-wheeler. I was riding at a friend's house. I was 14, and they had just like a dirt mound built up to load their tractor onto a low-boy
Nice.
trailer. And me being an idiot and, like I said, sucking on the motocross track, and I was on my four-wheeler. I was like, I can jump that, not thinking about it's just a mound of dirt and then a flat yard. There's no landing ramp at all. And so I hit it, clear it perfectly, just full send, and then as I'm coming down, again, you're going down to just the yard. Well, over the handlebars I go, and then the four-wheeler lands on top of me, and hyperextends my spine, tears my ACL, gives me a severe concussion, 2 herniated discs in my back. I'm still feeling that to this day.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
My dad and all of his friends used to get in the front yard, and we had a driveway that ended at this like a berm. So we had a berm at the end of it that was a dirt berm, and on the other side it was just a flat asphalt turn. And they would get on little Z50s because that's what everybody had at the time.
Yeah.
My dad had it was like a Z70 or Z50 frame and a 70 motor in it, and a KX250 seat and gas tank that were strapped onto it with a rope. This big megaphone exhaust. And him and his buddies would gear up completely head to toe. Like they had chest protector, they had knee sliders, everything, and they would get out there and race. And I just remember it's ba ba boom, ba ba boom. You'd hear that for hours in the front yard, and they're just having a blast on these little bikes. And Avery, our customer, was one of them. Brinkley, that came in the shop yesterday, was one of them, and this other guy, Michael, and man, they had a blast. But I remember I was out there riding that little monstrosity that my father made that he properly named Bobo, and I hit a root on that berm, and it laid over on me. I was like 5, and I couldn't pick the bike up, so I've got a bad burn on my leg right now that used to take up the whole leg. But little things like that, you get in danger, you have fun though.
Yeah.
You would think that man that owns a motorcycle shop would have a better motorcycle than that.
No. You get parts. You see
That's what I was going to ask. Did y'all ever have new bikes?
Not growing up. I mean, you got to think my dad was working for his dad, so he was earning the $2 an hour I was earning. So it, we didn't really. He didn't make a lot of money at the shop. He would bring bikes home, and I remember at a pretty young age, we had they had a TRX 400EX, and that was their sport sport ATV. And he would take those and he'd build them to 440s constantly. And here I am, I don't know how old I was probably a little less than 10. I would test ride that four-wheeler before and afterward. It's a major difference. And
wow.
You know, I kind of learned to ride everything through that. But he would take bikes home and work on them if my grandfather didn't want to have them at the shop.
Right.
And that's how he made extra money.
Yeah. Flipping bikes.
Yep.
That's a fun hobby.
But you used to be able to do a lot more with a lot less money in the motorcycle industry. And I think that now with the economies, the interest rates, things like that, things have gotten a lot more expensive for people.
Well, the bikes are harder to work on.
Yeah. Bikes are harder to work on. You
Everything's
can't just work on in
electronic.
your garage. Yeah. And, you know, some of that we decry. A lot of it is EPA regulation because we have to have fuel injection now. We have to have it, you know, limited to a certain point. So a lot of that's regulation. A lot of that is just the way the economy's gone.
Yeah.
But man, what better industry to be in?
Yeah, we get to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, you get to have fun with your favorite hobby.
Right.
Your lifestyle, really.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you're into bikes, you're into bikes.
Right.
I don't really know anybody that's like, you know, I've got a bike. And, you know, it's like, you're either like, you either love them or you hate them. Yeah. And if you, I think the few guys that I've found that do have a bike that don't ever ride, they're scared of it. like something like they
Something
almost had a wreck,
Yeah.
and they're just like, yeah, I got a Harley.
Yeah.
It's a lot of Harley guys. No offense, Harley guys, but there's a lot of dudes that get out there and get scared. They go buy a freaking 1800cc bike for their first bike.
Yeah, that's
That wasn't
900
even
pounds.
an inserted sound effect. A Harley.
No,
just
it wasn't. That was fate right there. He was angry.
he heard you and then he heard
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but that's you're either all in or all out. So, all right, we're getting towards the end of our hour. Y'all have like what's the best deal y'all got at the shop right now? What?
Anything dirt bike.
Yeah, KTM
Yeah,
Husqvarna gas dirt bikes right now. They've got a lot of rebates on them, right? And as this airs, we're probably going to be transferring from August to September. I don't anticipate any of the rebates are going to go away. But check us out. I tend to keep a spreadsheet of every good deal that we have at the shop, and if you ever have questions, feel free to call and talk to me. And there's certain brands, and I don't want to get too specific here because they'll get me on MAP policy, but certain brands have a MAP policy, and there's not prices that I can always advertise. But it doesn't mean that we're not one to wheel and deal and make you happy and get you on a bike that you love.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, we love, we're in the business of selling motorcycles. We don't have a museum.
100%.
And we love getting people on motorcycles. And so, yeah, I mean, we've never thrown anybody out for making us an offer.
And the showroom is full.
It
Yeah.
is slam
Anything
full.
that you
Yeah.
need,
Yeah.
it's in stock.
We have over 400 bikes right now, new and used.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
And
it is
you've
a
got
little crazy.
something for everybody.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
bicycles.
y'all have grown and y'all are selling bikes now. So yeah, and gear, helmets, gloves, jackets, pants.
I think we should go over every brand that we have. I mean, just
what
to
all,
cover the basics.
what all are y'all carrying
Should have
now?
started. We should have started a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've starting from the beginning in no particular order because somebody will get mad at me. But BMW, Ducati, KTM, Husqvarna, Gas, Triumph, Beta on the motorcycle side. That's everybody?
Is that
Yeah.
7? Okay.
Yeah, that's everybody. And then on the bicycle side, Husqvarna and Gas, e-bicycles, e-mountain bikes, Felt and Intense bicycles.
And Felcher road bikes, Intense is mountain bikes only, right?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, yeah. And then is that all that's all the bicycle brands? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as far as gear goes, I mean, I'll just hit the high spots. Obviously, we've got factory branded gear. We from all the respective manufacturers. We've got Klim.
Shout out to Klim. It's my favorite.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty good
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, we've got Alpine Star helmets. We've got Shoei. We've got Araya. We've got. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
can't
we're
mention
pretty
all
much
those.
pretty much whatever you want.
Tires.
If we don't have it, we can get it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all have never left me with, unless it's like a niche thing. Like I had to order a new headset for new speakers for my headset.
Right.
And didn't keep those in stock. But when I bought the headsets, y'all had those in stock. I
Yeah.
bought my helmet, y'all had it in stock. You had we had to special order Kimber's pants because she's 5'0", or Klim pants, but all my stuff y'all had in stock. I mean, y'all have got a really good inventory of stuff.
I don't know that we still do, but I know at one point, I probably should know that, we had the largest Klim selection in the Southeast.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I don't know of anybody else within driving distance around here.
Yeah.
that
I mean,
has it.
it's getting more and more popular, so obviously Klim's putting their stuff in more and more stores. I mean, it's huge now. It's like
It's great gear. I
Yeah.
mean, my full outfit has 20,000 miles on it now. Yeah, and it's still. I mean, it's dirty. It's real dirty.
It should be.
but
It's
it's
got
still
20,000 miles on it.
It's still holding up.
Yeah.
God, I love that stuff, man. I forgot which model of the jacket I got, but it's the vented.
Inferno or
No,
Baja.
It's like the middle of the road. I can never keep up with their names.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
It's kind of not the top of the top, but kind of the higher end vented.
They have the Baja S4, and then you have the induction jacket.
The induction.
is
That's what I
have.
got.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's a good pants and jacket.
For sure. Especially
because I can still wear it in the summertime. It's not too bad while you're moving.
Well, it's meant to be for summer.
Yeah. Are you wearing their helmet too?
Yeah, I'm running the Klim helmet too.
The Krios Pro is awesome.
Yeah, the Krios. I got the carbon one.
That's one that's worth doing a little bit of a deep dive on. That thing is awesome.
I'll bring it in on the next show. We can talk about it because that thing's got some miles on it. Yeah. It's already on its second windshield.
Yeah.
It rolled off the bike. That was dumb. I set it on the seat in the front yard.
No, I've done that.
Yeah, we've all done it.
I had an old Penn Boston replica helmet that I did that too. I was so mad.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you want to reveal or what you don't want to reveal. Do you want to talk about any future shoot? I can't even say the words. Future plans?
Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of hit on the hot spots. I mean, we are, and I think where you want with this is we are going to be opening a bicycle shop.
Sweet.
In the same building as we are
over
currently.
on the left side where y'all expanded out to.
Yeah,
nice. I knew y'all were doing something over there. I knew it wasn't going to be offices.
So yeah, I mean, and I don't really have a time frame. But yeah, I mean, looking forward to that. And the bicycles are, bicycles, airplanes, guns, kind of all go, depending on your bank account, go with the motorcycles.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to that. Obviously that, like I said earlier, that's how me and my wife met. And
are we going to start selling airplanes and guns now?
That's
what I heard.
Yeah. That's
for it.
Yeah. So
down. Let's go.
But
I like guns. I've been in an airplane before.
Combine the two, it's just magic.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure that's a good. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that's the next steps for us is obviously to keep growing the motorcycle side of things, and then the bicycle stuff is very centric to that.
And I think that having the bicycles over there will allow the motorcycles to grow as well, because we're going to have more showroom space as a result of that.
Yeah.
And it's about not just about keeping them separate, because I mean, I do think there's a little bit of an expertise you have to have, but we're going to try to blend the two as much as we can.
I mean, half of the guys at the Hare Scrambles are pre-riding the courses on e-bikes now.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what, I've had shops that have helped me over the years. Carla has too. So it's not like we needed a place to go buy bicycles.
Yeah.
We had that. But, looking at our existing customers on the motorcycle side, those guys are pre-riding Hare Scramble courses on e-bikes now. So
they're great pit bikes.
They are. Yeah. They're easy. You don't need to lay them down.
It was Groms for a while, but then it's hard to take a Grom out on the course.
Yeah.
And so for a pit bike, a Grom is great, but you can't get on the course with it. So like an e-bike is perfect.
Right.
Well, and right about the time that this show airs, we're going to be going to the Tennessee Knockout Extreme Enduro, and getting around there without some sort of transportation is a nightmare.
Yeah, you don't want to be walking.
The e-bike's going to be perfect for that.
Nice. Yeah. So what's the next big bike coming out? New bike.
It'll be the GSA.
When is that?
Q1.
Yeah.
20.
I wish we had some graphics and let everybody see it.
We can talk about that on the next show.
Yeah, it's out there. I mean, it's pretty polarizing, and it has been. I mean,
let's get some clips and some pictures and promo material together, and we'll do a review, pre-review on that on the next show.
Yeah.
We can do that, and then the Klim helmet.
Yeah, that'd
do
be
that
good
on the next one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Well, we're at an hour, so we're going to close it out, and we will be back next week for the next episode to talk about the new BMW GSA.
Awesome. Look forward to it.
All right. I'm Justin.
Matt.
Jeff.
We'll see you on the next one.
See ya.
Good show. See how easy that was?
That was
It's really fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you know how many clips we're going to get out of that?